Welcome back to episode 81 of Screaming from the Rooftop. If you're still here after the last episode, I knew some people weren't going to like it. I knew I'd take a hit on the channel for it. And I had to do so out of a statement of authenticity, because that's the whole thing about music. It took me back to childhood and how cherished those times were. I learned to fingerpick from John Miller on Queen Anne Hill in Seattle. And John Miller, even more than Chet Atkins, is the reason that I fingerpick. Now, I sound a lot more like Chet most of the time when I fingerpick, but that's the point. Here is the secret. I'm about to give you the secret. Before you start trying to sound like Chet or Tommy, or for that matter Merle Travis, make sure that you can drone on one string, hold down a groove, and coordinate that with some melody notes up top. Among the countless artists that Miller turned me on to was Mance Lipscomb, and if you listen to Rocks and Gravel, it's not a Chet thing at all, but it's the groundwork that laid the whole framework for my ability to get into the Chet world. So as an example, and merely one thing to practice, just one isolated lick, we'll keep it in the key of E, and we'll play the lick that's over the A7 chord. Up top, you can play just these three notes only. It's a slide in to the second fret on the second string, then it's the open first string, then it's the third fret on the first string. Then, when you're comfortable with that, add in the bass, but only work on the bass at that point in time. So what I want you to do is play the fifth string open, and then on the next beat, land back on the sixth string and stay there. Just drone for the next three beats. So in terms of the rhythm, it's 4 quarter notes, it's the fifth string on beat 1, then beats 2, 3, 4, droning on the low E string. Make sure you can do that in good time. Make sure you can do it over and over and over again, and that you're not getting tired in the right hand, and that you can go on autopilot and do that. Only at that point in time, when you've mastered both parts individually and separately, only at that point in time do I want you to start trying to put them back together. When you do, you'll get a simplified version of that lick, stripped down from the Mance Lipscomb recording. But the secret is, you got to go back to the mindset of a beginner. You got to quit trying to do too much and confusing yourself and overwhelming yourself. So that's why we simplify things down to their tiniest level. If you can just get this much, you're on your way. That's the simplified version. It's cutting out the rest of it, and it's beginning to form the habit of coordination between the thumb. As the thumb gains some independence from the other fingers on the right hand, you won't be overwhelmed in the same way as if I said, okay, lesson number 1, Little Rock Getaway, Chet Atkins. The thing that's making it difficult is something that goes back to the beginning that you just glossed over a little quicker than served you well. Eventually, you'll work up to the rest of the lick. You'll also find out things like you don't have to attack the strings completely heavily. Sometimes when something is difficult, it's because you're using too much force, either in the right or in the left hand. Touch is so greatly important. But although we talk in reverent tones about great guitar players and iconic players and our heroes and talk about how great their sound is, their tone, their touch, isn't that just about the first thing that a kid ever does when that kid picks up a guitar? You take a pick, probably at that point in time, and you put it to a string and you sound a note. Your touch is the very first thing in the world that you could work on, so that you can build up into greatness from very simple, basic beginnings and good work habits. Chet had the story about hearing Blind Blake in the early days. He did admire Merle Travis greatly, and he did say he'd be looking at the rear end of a mule without Merle Travis. But he also was hearing Blind Blake, and those early folk blues fingerpicking guitar players I mean, these were the masters of American music. You take them away, we don't have anything. So it all goes back to the blues, and that was my gateway into Chet Atkins. It really only takes one guitar teacher, if it's the right one, to positively affect your life and be with you for the long haul. So John Miller, thank you for being my advocate. This is something I learned from John Miller. Start out, make sure that you can do a real simple droning bass before you mess with anything else. And when you can do that, you're going to have a really good framework and you're going to have really good habits formed to put on the thumb pick and take this further. The sky's the limit. As Vince Gill said to me all those years ago, you can get as good as your ears will let you become. So let your ears guide you through the process and let your good habits be your foundation. I'll see you again the next time.